Hey everybody, Don Georgievich here with Job Interview Tools. If you have a job interview coming up with Amazon for a leadership or management position, I'm going to show you how to ace that interview. And I'm going to do even more than that. I'm going to tell you exactly what Amazon wants to hear you say in the interview. Now you might be thinking, Don, how are you going to tell me exactly what Amazon wants to hear from me? Well, I'll tell you. I have a whole bunch of clients that I coach on interviews for Amazon. They come to me and they're like, Don, I have a management interview with Amazon. Can you help me pass it? And they say, Amazon sent me this document here that shows what they're looking for. Can you go over that with me? Well, I'm going to share that document with you in this video. Now, you probably can't see this right now very well through the camera lens, but this is a 2-page guide that Amazon sends to all of their candidates, the people that they want to interview. And what this does is, this walks the candidate through exactly what Amazon wants to hear from them in the interview. Now, you might be thinking, why would they do that? Well, Amazon wants to essentially give you a blueprint for the interview because they want you to be the best version of yourself. They don't want to wait for you to get in the interview and then ask you a whole bunch of sneaky, crazy, or tricky questions and stump you up. That's not their point. They don't want to stump up their best people. They want their people to be relaxed. They want their candidates to feel comfortable in a relaxed environment so that they can become or just be the best version of themselves. I mean, we all know that when you get into a job interview situation, you become a little bit nervous, you become a little bit shy, you get tripped up, you forget what you want to talk about. And you know, sometimes candidates just go to pieces. Some of the very best, smartest people, they just go to pieces in the interview. And well, Amazon's smart and they don't want you to go to pieces. They want you to be well prepared, and that's why they give you, now I don't know if they gave you this document or not, and actually I don't even know if I'm allowed to share this with you in this video. But I'm hoping that they don't care, and I'm hoping that nobody takes down this video, because I think this is really important if you have an interview with Amazon. And you know what, even if you don't, even if you have a management interview with Google or Facebook or Chase Bank or anybody else, the principles that Amazon is talking about in this document are going to apply to a lot of different interviews. Now, specifically, they apply to Amazon's interviews, and they apply to Amazon's culture. And that's why they do this. That's why they create this document, so that you can be what they're looking for. I mean, that's what they want. They want to make it easy for you. So what I'm going to do is I am going to invite you over here to my side of the desk so you can see my screen. And I'm just going to walk through this document with you, just like I do with all of my coaching clients, where we sit down and we just go over this document together and we talk about how they can be, all these things that Amazon wants them to be. So come on over here, let's take a look at this document. So now you should be able to see my screen, hopefully, if I did this right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk you through this document line by line, and I'm going to highlight the certain areas that I am talking about. So if we open this thing up, first thing we see is, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. The below tips are intended to enhance your candidate experience. Right there, that's just so crucial. They're telling you that, they want you to have a good interviewing experience. They don't want you leaving the interview thinking, oh man, I really bombed that, or oh, those guys are so mean, or they ask me so many hard questions. They want you to have a pleasant experience so that you'll tell other people to go interview at Amazon or apply. So, next line here, Amazon is a place where builders can build. And we hire the world's brightest minds and offer them an environment in which they can innovate and improve the experience for our customers. Now notice, they said improve the experience for our customers. I'm just going to highlight that because that's one of the things that Amazon really focuses on, is they're very customer-centric. Everything they do is driven by their customers. They want you to have the best possible experience as a customer, because if you don't, well, you might not buy there anymore. You might go to Walmart or Target or somewhere else online and buy your stuff instead of Amazon. So they want you to have a wonderful experience. And that all starts with the people that they hire. They want the people that they hire to really believe in putting the customer first. It's a mentality. So we want employees who will help share and shape our mission to be Earth's most customer-centric company. And they say it again. They say Earth's most customer-centric company. So again, they just repeated what they basically said. Improving experience for customers, customer-centric company. Kind of all the same thing. It goes together. And as we go through this document, you're going to see how they keep reinforcing how customer-centric they are, and I'll point those out to you. So Amazon's evolution from website to e-commerce to development is driven by the spirit of invention that is part of our DNA. We do this every day by solving complex technical and business problems with ingenuity and simplicity. Now, ingenuity and simplicity are the keys here. You see, because Amazon, when they do things, they like to do it smart, but they don't like to do things that are overly complicated. They would rather do a 1 or 2 step process than a process that takes 5 or 6 steps. Makes sense, right? I mean, the longer process is just more confusing, it costs more, it takes longer. Amazon would rather focus on a very simple solution. And as you're going through your interview and you're talking about things that you've done in your past jobs, it should be very important for you to talk about how you employ simplicity in everything that you do. And what that will do is that will show that you are aligned with them and their DNA and who they are. So then they go on to say, we're making history. The good news is that we've only just begun. And what they're trying to tell you by saying that is that they're still a young company. There's still a lot of growth. There's still a lot of challenges. So these kinds of things should be reflected in your conversation with them. You should be talking about how you're still looking forward to growth and challenges. I mean, just because Amazon's been around for 25 years doesn't mean they're an old washed up company and they keep doing the same old things the same way. They are constantly reinventing themselves, and that's why they're one of the largest, if not the largest company in the world. So another thing here, work hard, have fun, make history. So have fun here is key because they want you to have fun doing what you're doing. They don't want you showing up and working 80 hours a week and not having any fun. They know that that leads to burnout. And when you burn out, then you're just not as productive anymore. And they want to get productivity from you. They want you to be happy doing what you're doing. They want you to be working there long term. They don't want you to go in there work 2 or 3 years and then you leave. You see, they're investing a lot into the people that they hire, and they want those people to be there with them, for years, if not decades. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that is if they have fun and they're fulfilled and that they're working hard, they're constantly challenged, they're having fun. It's just this whole circle here, this cycle of, working. So, moving on here, preparing for your interview. Thank you for the time that you've invested in the Amazon interview process. Below are some tips that we hope you will find helpful. So again, here's some tips to help you out so that you do a good job in the interview. Remember, they're there to help you. They want you to do well. So know what interests you about Amazon and the team that you're going to be interviewing with. So when they're saying, what interests you, what attracts you to Amazon? What is it that you like about them? If you just go into the interview and say, well, I think they're just a really great company, I want to work for them. I can guarantee you they're looking for something deeper than that. They want to know what really gets you excited about what they're doing. And the only way you can do that is to be specific. So you have to dig down deep into, what it is that you really like. What is Amazon doing? Specifically, like in the division that you're in, because they've probably got hundreds of divisions and they're doing all kinds of things. They're working on artificial intelligence, they're working on improving customer process, they're working on growing in just all kinds of different ways. I have no idea all the kinds of things that they're doing. So this is where you need to be specific. and talk to them and tell them what it is that they're doing. I mean, are you interested in, working in artificial intelligence to help their customers have an easier time placing orders or getting customer service, whatever it is. So know that. And specifically, they mention the team. So the people that you're going to be working with specifically, what attracts you to that team? And you don't want to just come off with these cliche answers like, well, I like to be around great people, stuff like that. Dig down, get into the root and the meaning of it. And I'll tell you, these are some of the things that, I do with clients one-on-one. I can't do this right now with you because I'm not getting any feedback from you. And that's why I have coaching sessions with people where we can go back and forth and we can talk about, what specifically about their background, their interest is aligned with what Amazon is looking for. Now, if you are interested in doing a coaching session with me, because like I said, I do these all the time for people for Amazon and Google and Facebook interviews, and we go down through all the details, go to jobinterviewtools.com/HPC. HPC is my high performance coaching program, and that's where you and I can jump on a Zoom or a Skype call, actually just a Skype call, I only do Skype. We can dig down deep into the specifics of what about Amazon is, right for you and, why you're right for Amazon and how you can convey that. So enough about the sales pitch there on the coaching. Let's move on here. So next tip here, it also may help to spend some time researching our specific products and features. So they're telling you right now to go out and do some research. What about their products excites you? And find out who their competitors are. I mean, Amazon has a whole bunch of products, but there's a lot of other people out there too that have competing products. So if you just, study Amazon, you'll be studying everything in a vacuum. So you want to go and find out what their competitors are doing and then compare and contrast that to what Amazon is doing. And this is going to enlighten you into what Amazon is going through in the marketplace. So specific products and features, as well as competitors. They're laying it out for you here, man. And again, this is relevant to the job description. I didn't say that before. So don't just go out there and find out, all these things that Amazon is doing and then find out that none of that's related to the job that you're applying to. It has to be relevant, and that's why they say relevant to the job description. So go find out the kinds of things that Amazon is doing that's relevant to the job that you're doing and all the competitors that they have in that space, and then you'll be able to talk intelligently about that when you go into the interview. Remember, they're laying this out for you here, and if you don't do this homework now, then you're going to be unprepared in the interview. And then they're going to be all over you. You're just going to be out. And I'll tell you, I do a lot of these coaching sessions with people in Amazon interviews. And a lot of people, they get rejected because, they're not right. They're not Amazon material. They're not aligned with the Amazon culture. So they're telling you how to do it. Okay, please be prepared for in-depth business questions. Again, they said please. Who says please? They're begging you. They're absolutely just begging you to be prepared to talk about, your past business experiences and how those relate to the position that is open. And, business questions could be anything. Those could deal with leadership. Those could deal with budget planning. Those could deal with project planning. How you deal with employees, how you discipline employees, how you grow employees, how you mentor them, how you coach them. Could be anything. So business questions, be prepared. Ask questions. Now, this is the thing that a lot of candidates, they just don't get. They forget this piece. They practice so much about the interview, what they're going to say and how they're going to answer questions, but they forget to think about questions to ask the employer, in this case, Amazon. So when they want you to ask questions, they're they want you to challenge them, because if you're not going to challenge the place that you're working at, that just means you're looking for a job and you're willing to take anything. They want people to push back against them. Challenge Amazon. You know, why should I come to work for you? Why should I come to work for you instead of Walmart? I think Walmart's doing a better job with in the online space than Amazon. Why should I come here? Or I think that, you know, Google is doing better with self-driving cars. You know, why should I come and work on your self-driving cars? You know, or I think, you know, Microsoft Azure is way better than Microsoft or than Amazon AWS. Why should I come here? Why shouldn't I go there? You know, don't lay it out for them like that, but push back. Say, you know, what are you guys doing that's different maybe, you know, than Microsoft? And again, these need to be specific. And I don't know if you know anything about Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure, but those are their cloud computing platforms. They're massive. Most people don't even know that Amazon has Amazon Web Services, which is their whole cloud computing platform. It does billions. It's huge. So anyways, you need to be specific. You need to be relevant. Now, like I said here, this is a collaborative interview process, meaning that they want to have a conversation with you. They don't want to just sit you down. This isn't going to be like a normal interview, you know, where the employer gets in there and they just drill you with question after question after question, and they don't give you a chance to say anything. Amazon wants your feedback. They want to talk to you. They want to have a conversation with you. That's how they can explore you, and they can find out, you know, what about you, makes you right for this job. And you can ask them questions to make sure that they're the right place for you. They might not be. Amazon might not be the right place for you. So they say, we also want to learn what it would be like to work with you on a day-to-day basis. So how are you gonna let them know what it's like to work with you on a day-to-day basis? Well, work with them in the interview, show them what you're like, talk about your past experiences, talk about your last job, talk about how everybody likes you in the company, and talk about what you did in your last job that's relevant. Talk about the projects that you've worked on. Talk about your passions, your interests. All of these little things are going to help them figure out what it's like to work with you, what it would be like to have you around there. Are you the kind of person that's helpful? Or do you like to be a coach and a mentor to other people? Do you like to share information? Do you like to spearhead projects? What is it about you? What's it like to be with you? Now, you're only going to get, the last guy that I did one of these with, he only had, I think, 4 interviews with Amazon. He probably had, I think, 2 over Zoom, and then the other ones they flew him into Seattle for. And that's where, you meet a whole bunch of different people. And they really put the screws to you. They want to make sure you are Amazon material. And if you're not, hey, they'll shake your hand and, they'll wish you good luck. And if they don't think you're Amazon material, you're probably not right for them. And if you were to go work there, you probably wouldn't last long, because they're looking for people who are aligned with their culture. So, next thing here, working at Amazon, they got a little YouTube video here. I'm not going to go into that right now. You can click on that if you want. Actually, I don't know if you can see the link here, SPXM, blah, blah, blah. You might be able to just punch that into your browser and go look at the Amazon. I think I've looked at it before. It's not that exciting. It just says, ooh, Amazon's a great place. So, okay, moving on here. Leadership principles. So, now, remember, what I said when I opened up this video is, this session is about preparing leaders, managers, project managers for interviews. Not so much, if you're looking to work in customer service, or maybe you are looking to work in the factories or the packaging plants, anything like that. Maybe if you're a project manager or a lead manager on the floor, definitely. But not so much the individual. People who are, maybe putting labels on boxes and stuff like that. This is a little bit more higher level. So if you are interviewing for a lower level position, they're not going to get into this leadership stuff. But any type of management stuff, definitely. So, said Amazon currently employs more than 100,000 people. It's probably more than that by now. It says our leadership principles are the foundation of our culture and guide each Amazonian. They've given all their employees labels. They're Amazonians. So whether you're an individual contributor or a manager of a large team, you are a leader. So These are their leadership principles. Customer obsession. They are obsessed with their customers. I don't know if you're a customer of them or not. Probably if you're looking to work there. Maybe it's one of the things that brought you to them, but they are obsessed with their customers. And that's what's allowed them to grow exponentially. So leaders start with the customer and they work backwards. They work vigorously to earn and keep customer trust. Remember that word, customer trust. You can talk about this when you are interviewing with them. You can talk about maybe how your past customers trust you. And you know what, maybe you don't work with customers in the retail sense, the transactional customers, but maybe your customers are business customers, or maybe your customers are other people in another department in your company. So they're not a retail customer, but they're still a customer. They're people that you work with. You can talk about them and use those as examples. You don't always need to be referring to customers in the retail sense. So, although leaders pay attention to competitors, they obsess over their customers. So, Amazon, they don't really care. Apparently, they don't really care what their competitors are doing. So all the stuff that Walmart is doing, creating their own online platform to compete with Amazon Prime, they don't care. Because now think about it. If Amazon were just to focus on what Walmart was doing, that would actually set them back. So what they do is they're like, hey, we don't care what our customers, or not our customers, but our competitors are doing. We are focused on where we're going. We are laying down the new road, and we decide, what's right for us. We're not going to be hindered by what our competitors are doing. And it's a brilliant strategy, and it's served them well. So ownership, I love this. Leaders are owners. They think long-term and they don't sacrifice long-term value for short-term results. They don't sell out. And one of the things here is I like when they say leaders are owners. Leaders own their mistakes. So if a leader makes a mistake and they like to blame it on somebody else or some other conditions, they're a weak leader. They are a very weak leader. Amazon wants leaders who accept full responsibility. So if they kick off a new project and it fails because, some guy down the line here didn't do his job, it's not his fault. It's the leader's fault. And if you can adopt this mindset when you go into the interview and they tell me, hey, tell me about some mistakes you made as a leader, make sure that you own them. They are your responsibility. If you are steering the ship, you take full responsibility. So tell them some stories where maybe you failed as a leader, and don't place the blame on somebody else. So they act on behalf of the entire company, beyond just their own team. So you might have multiple teams in Amazon, you will, and they may even compete a little bit against each other. But what they're saying here is, everybody is one. We're all one together. And, we're looking out for the other teams as well. And I like this. They say, that's not my job. Did you ever work in a place where, you ask somebody to do something, they're like, oh, that's not my job. That's probably one of that person probably doesn't work there anymore. When you have that kind of a mindset where you're like, that's not what I do. But you still sit on your butt and do nothing instead of something. Amazon is looking for people who contribute at all levels, no matter what. Nobody says, I don't do that. That's not my job. What they do is they say, hey, let me help you with that. Or let me find somebody who can do that better than I can. So keep all these subtleties in mind when you're talking, because as they ask you questions about things that you've done, inject some of these ideas that they have here, and these sayings. When you're talking about how you do things and how you get things done, let them know. When they say, hey, maybe why should we hire you? And you can say, well, you know what, I'm a leader, and I never say that's not my job. You can even just pull that right out. They're not going to really notice that, but don't be so blunt. But you can pull out pieces from this document and just say them outright, but try to mix them in with some other conversation there so it's not so blatant. So next one here, invent and simplify. Leaders expect and require innovation and invention from their teams and always find ways to simplify. So I love that. Simplify. Simplicity is the key to everything. Amazon, like they even mentioned earlier, they don't want a complex way of doing something. They don't want to have to do 5 steps or 10 steps. They would rather do 1 or 2. And they might spend, maybe there's a long, complex process to get something done. They will spend great amounts of time and money to simplify that process and streamline it so that it's efficient and so that they can keep using it over and over and over and over again. So, and again, make sure that you talk about when they ask you, how you solve problems at work. You might want to tell them, hey, I always look for the simplest solution first. And this is how you can, inject, some of what's in this document into your interview, and they'll see that you are more like an Amazonian, that you are like them. And that's when they're going to want to hire you. They're only going to want to hire you if they think you are like them. If you don't show them that you're like them, they're going to think that you're not, and they're going to send you packing because they've got 10,000 other people behind you who want the job. So, moving on here. Leaders are externally aware. They look for new ideas from everywhere, and they're not limited by not invented here. As we do things, we accept that we may be misunderstood for long periods of time. You've ever had that happen before? So, leaders are right a lot. So, it's okay to fail as a leader, but they're looking for leaders who fail less often. That's what they mean by that. Leaders are right a lot, and they have strong business judgment. They're good at what they do. Sure, they're going to make mistakes, but a leader can't really have, a whole bunch more failures than they can successes. Okay, here's a good one here. Hire and develop the best. So as a leader, it's a leader's job to hire people, to hire new talent. As a leader, if you're interviewing for a leadership position, you are going to have to hire people, you're going to have to promote people, and you're going to have to talk about how you have hired and promoted people in your last job. What's your criteria for hiring? I don't know without talking to you individually, but they're going to look to, what are your own guidelines? How do you interview people? How do you bring out the best in people? How do you help them overcome their own insecurities in an interview so that put them at ease? What are the questions that you might ask a candidate that helps you, get a peek under the hood there and, see what makes them tick and helps you understand them a lot better. So here, leaders, they recognized exceptional talent and willingly move them throughout the organization. So what they're saying by that is, as a leader, you're going to have maybe 15 or 20 people working under you. It's your job to identify people who have already excelled in their role to the maximum, and there's nowhere else that they can go under you. So that's where you might want to move them into another organization that will allow them to grow, maybe another division, maybe another department, whatever it is. But it's your job as a leader to be able to recognize that in your people. Because if you don't, if you have a guy over here and he's just exceptionally well, doing everything perfectly, and it's almost easy for him, if you just keep him there doing that same job, you were doing him and Amazon a great disservice. It's your job to say, you know what, Dan, we'll call him Dan, I don't know why, and Dan, you're doing a great job over here, but you know what? I think there's better things for you to be doing. And I've talked to my manager, and we think that you might be more happy over in this other role. Was that something that you'd be willing to consider? Stuff like that. But you need to be looking out for the people who are under you. So, leaders develop leaders, and they take seriously their role in coaching others. Exactly. That's how leaders are born. They're developed by other leaders. So as a leader, it's your job to develop other leaders. And they might even ask you, that could be one of your questions. So tell me about some of the leaders that you've developed. And if you're like, well, I don't know. Well, you can think back and say, well, Don walked me through that whole Amazon document there that showed exactly what they were looking for. Why didn't I do my homework and figure out why or how I develop leaders or how I've done it before? So any questions that you get in your leadership Amazon interview should be no surprise, because they're giving you everything right here, and I'm trying to help you understand it. So insist on the highest standards. Leaders have relentlessly high standards. I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. Many people think that these standards are unreasonably high. Leaders are continually raising the bar, and they drive their teams to deliver high-quality products, services, and processes. Leaders ensure that defects do not get sent down the line and that problems are fixed so that they stay fixed. So yeah, as a leader, it's your job to identify those kind of things. Identify problems before they happen, and if there is a problem, you don't want to look the other way, like in some companies. They'll be like, oh, well, it's not my job. Just let it go. It's your job. You're an Amazonian. You're all working together towards a common goal. Here's a good one here. Think big. Thinking small is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Leaders create and communicate bold direction that inspires results. They think differently, and they look around the corners to serve customers. So notice how we're coming back to serving customers again. That's what they started off with, about how customer-centric we are. And now they're talking about different ways to serve customers. See, that's one of the things that I always look for in job descriptions and things like that, is where the company starts repeating themselves. And where they start repeating themselves, that means that's really important to them. So you can take note here that serving customers is very important, Amazon. So bias for action. Speed in business matters. It sure does. If you're too slow, you are yesterday's news. You're out of here. So many decisions and actions are reversible and do not need extensive study. We value calculated risk-taking. Now, Amazon is a very huge data-driven company. They don't just kind of decide what they're going to do tomorrow. They collect enormous amounts of data, and they have analysts that go over all this data who decide, where the trends are, where should we be going. And that's why they value calculated risk-taking. It's calculated risk. They look at all the data. They're like, okay, the trend in 6 months from now should be, blue widgets. Let's focus on blue widgets. If they're wrong, they might lose billions. If they're right, they might make hundreds of billions. So here's another one here. I like this. Frugality. One of my favorites. And just like Walmart, really. We try not to spend money on things that don't matter to customers. So that means, they're not going to just spend a whole bunch of money on some really fun stuff that's really cool, only if it benefits the customers. So they live a very frugal lifestyle at Amazon. I mean, they pay well. I know they pay very well. I've worked with some people who are making over $400,000 a year here, but they're frugal as a company, and they don't just, because they have billions, hundreds of billions, they just don't go throwing them around. They're not just writing checks to everybody. They're only spending that money where it matters most, and that's to the customer, making sure that they have what they need, making sure that they're happy, making sure that they're a long-term customer. So, and like this, frugality breeds resourcefulness. So if you don't have a lot of money, you might figure out a more efficient way of doing something. And let's see, there are no extra points for headcount, budget size, or fixed expense. Let's see, vocally self-critical. Leaders do not believe their or their team's body odor smells of perfume. Leaders come forward with problems of information. Even when doing so is awkward or embarrassing, leaders benchmark themselves and their teams against the best. And I like this here. Leaders come forward with problems. But one other thing leaders will do, they won't just say, hey, this is broke. They'll offer a solution. They might say, hey, we have a problem here. This is broke. This isn't working. Here's what I think we should do. So as you are talking to them and they're asking you to talk about some of your leadership examples, you might talk about a time that you were faced with a problem and, tell them, you went to your boss and you're like, hey, we got a problem here. It's causing all kinds of problems. Money's just, going out the window, or customers are unhappy, whatever the problem is. And then tell them, you came up with a solution. And here's what I propose that we do. Me personally, I can't even stand it when people just come to me and say, hey, there's a problem. Okay, well, what should we do about it? Oh, I don't know. It's your problem. So remember, Amazon's not the kind of company that passes the buck around. They take control of things individually. So earn the trust of others. Leaders are sincerely open-minded, genuinely listen, and are willing to examine the strongest convictions with humility. Dive deep. Leaders operate at all levels. They stay connected to the details and audit frequently. So it means they're always constantly going back and checking what they did. Did that work? Did that not work? And using that data for the next time. No task is beneath them. Yeah, they'll change their own trash. They'll clean their own desk. Whatever it is. Leaders do what needs to get done. If there's someone on the team who isn't able to do the job, then it's the leader's job to step in and do it for them, or find somebody who can. But leaders roll up their sleeves, they get things done. And that's what you need to be in this interview. You need to show them that you are the kind of person who knows how to get things done. So leaders have a backbone, and they disagree and commit. Leaders are obligated to respectfully challenge decisions when they disagree, even when doing so is uncomfortable or exhausting. It always is. Leaders have conviction and are tenacious. They do not compromise for the sake of social cohesion. So, and you've probably met some people like that in your career, the kind of manager who isn't out there to be your friend. Yeah, that's kind of what they're saying there. And once a decision is determined, they commit wholly. They're all in. Even if, they're going down halfway, they think they're wrong, they still keep going because they already decided, they committed that they're going to do it. And then last one here, deliver results. Leaders focus on key inputs for their business and deliver them with the right quality and in a timely fashion. Despite setbacks, they rise to the occasion and never settle. So there you go. 2 pages here of exactly what Amazon wants to hear from you. So now you go into the interview, you have no excuse, and you don't have to worry about what angle that they're going to come at you from, because we've already talked about it. They're going to hit you from all different angles. Now it's your job to go out there and do the research and get prepared. And if you want to have a conversation with me about your interview with Amazon or Google or wherever, I'm happy to do that with you. Like I said, I do these over Skype. They're 60 minutes long. You can register for a consultation with me at jobinterviewtools.com/HPC. That's high performance coaching. And I'll sit down with you for an hour, kind of like I did right now. And we'll talk about all the details and the specifics of a job description that you're applying for. And we'll talk about, how you're aligned for it, and maybe where you're weak at it, and maybe how you can overcome some of those weaknesses in the interview. So that's all I have for you today on this one. And like I said, you can use this document, this guide, this video, this training for really any type of position, because a lot of companies, they're looking for leaders who are, who fit this Amazon mold. It's not unique to Amazon. Some of the things that are unique is that they're very customer centric, but a lot of these other things they're talking about, these guidelines, a lot of companies, they want their leaders to just be like this. Some don't, but maybe that's right for you or not. I don't know. But like I said, you can use this guideline for a lot of different jobs. But like I said, this is specific to Amazon. And like I said, I hope I'm allowed to even give this to you. And I hope Amazon doesn't have my video removed from YouTube or something like that. But this is a relatively readily available document that I believe you can download from Amazon. So I hope they don't mind me going over this with you and just kind of helping you get prepared. Because, that's, after all, that's what Amazon wants to do. They want to help you get prepared for your interview. So before you go, like I said, that's all I got for you today. Head on over to Job Interview Tools. I want to give you this document here. It's the top 10 job interview questions and answers. This is going to get you ready for some of the most common questions, like tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? What are your five-year goal plan? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? Those kinds of questions. And it's going to do it in a way that's going to tell you what's right, and it's going to tell you what's wrong. So it might guide you and say, give them an answer that talks about this, but don't give them an answer that talks about that. So really great guide here. You can get this from jobinterviewtools.com/10/top10. And like I said, this is going to prepare you for just the more common questions. And I do have other programs that go a lot deeper into more questions. And one of those is the Complete Interview Answer Guide, where I have over like 140 different questions. We touch on project management and all kinds of leadership questions, things like that. So go ahead, start off with this guide, get it from jobinterviewtools.com/top10, and start reading through, and that will help you just get even a little bit more comfortable before your interview. But still, you have a lot of homework to do with preparing for all of the leadership principles and aligning a lot of your responses to what they're looking for, and coming up with some of your own questions that you want to ask them. Now, I actually do have another video. I think it's like the 12 best questions to ask an employer, and I'll try to put a link for that below if I remember, because sometimes I forget. So and it goes over just some common questions to ask an interviewer. But like I said, you don't want to ask questions just for the sake of asking questions. Don said to ask this question, so I should ask it now. You only want to ask questions that are relevant to you working there. And those are the best kinds of questions to ask. Because remember, Amazon said they want to have a conversation with you. They want you to challenge them on whether, you should work there or not. So, my friend, hey, that's all I have for you today. Good luck on your interview with Amazon. I hope you just totally knock it out of the park and get one of those highly coveted positions there. And that's all I got for you today. And I will see you in the next video. And oh, by the way, if you like my channel, you like what we're doing here, make sure you subscribe to it and share it with a friend. All right, take care. Bye now.